name and where you are joining from. Uh, we are very happy to have everyone on this call. Okay, please drop your name and where you're joining from. It's very, very important you do that. Okay. So let me just quickly check the chat to see those who have dropped their name. We have Hako from Abuja. You're very much welcome, Hako. We have Farida from Kaduna. We have Onye Bazi from DSN Calabar, Josh from Abuja, TJ Sunimi, Rachel Aina from Abuja. Yes, TJ Sunimi always gives us very pleasant comment on our self-paced learning resources. So thank you very much, TJ Sunimi. We always notice your comments on YouTube. It shows that you are really following this section, and you're really enjoying this section. Christiana from Lagos, Shadrach Shadrach from Zambia. Wow, you're welcome, Shadrach from Zambia. Godwin from Lagos, Raphael from Abuja, Kesene from Kaduna, Julius, everyone, you're welcome, and you're welcome. We are always very excited to have you on this section. I don't know who can be as excited as I am. So I remain your host, Tejumola Asoloko. And today's section is going to be as awesome and even more awesome than what we previously have. So let me take you through this. Now we always go through what DSN is all about every week because of some new participants that wouldn't have joined the previous section. And we'd like to know what we do at DSN and then what we have to offer. So please, in just a few minutes, I'm going to be taking everyone through what we do at DSN and how you can be part and some benefits of being a member. Okay, so DSN, we are committed to raise 1 million AI talents and build AI solutions that improve the quality of life and well-being of the 2 billion people in the emerging market. So one of our ways of raising 1 million AI talent is what we are having here, is the section that we are having currently, 1 million AI talent. So, and then these are our 5 pillars of impact, which is community development. We have communities on campuses and in cities. We have thematic communities, we have professional communities, we have gender-based community. I'm going to be speaking to all of these communities in my subsequent slides. Okay, we also focus on research, which is obvious in this, the program we're currently having is on research. We are very strong and keen to research at Data Science Nigeria. Capacity building, we have a lot of trainings I'm going to be speaking to. Ecosystem development, we support the AI ecosystem in Nigeria and Africa and even the world. We also do consulting and product development. These are 5 pillars at Data Science Nigeria. I mentioned earlier on that we have campus communities and city communities across Nigeria and even outside Nigeria. Yeah, so if you're even outside Nigeria, you're interested in establishing Data Science Nigeria community in your country, you just need to send an email or request to AI community at datasciencenigeria.ai, and the community team is they're gonna pick it up, and then you're going to be getting the next steps and what you need to do. Okay, so we have communities on campuses, we have in cities, and we have in 4 countries. We have in Kenya, we have in Uganda, and then we have in Bradford, we have in different countries of the world, 4 countries at the moment of the world. So let's quickly move to so this is it. Our learning network spans to 96 countries, yes. I always said from the coldest part of the world to the other part, yes, we are represented, in 96 countries of the world. And these are multifaceted community initiatives. You have the ladies in AI, kids and teens, AI for schools, AI professionals, AI for executives. So there is something for everyone. So we have a space for everyone. We are inclusive. We want to make sure that everyone is carried along in this world AI revolution. Okay, so this is one of our programs, which is called the AI Everyday. We have trained over 3,000 participants in data science and data analytics courses. We also have the AI in every city with over 36,000 participants who are trained, for 5 days in different parts of Nigeria and also outside Nigeria. These are pictures to speak to that. And we also have our all expense paid AI bootcamp. DSN bootcamp is all expense paid, accommodation, feeding, and even transportation. Yes, everything all being catered for by Data Science Nigeria. We do not want the barrier of finance, no, to stop you from learning. And that is why we made it all expense paid. Last year, AI Bootcamp was awesome. And I'm very sure that we have attendees on this call. If you attended last year Bootcamp, you can just share on the, just drop your favorite emoji on the chat, to show that you attended the boot camp, the previous boot camp. It was interesting. Yeah, these are ladies in the community, and I want all these ladies on the call to join this community. They are currently running a mentorship session for from selected ladies. So you can be part of this. So do make sure to be part of this if you are a lady and you're also doing artificial AI into data science. Good. So these are some of the initiatives and some of the programs that they own. And then if you want to join this, just scan this code. My colleagues on the call also be dropping links to join the ladies in AI community. We are very keen to research, and then we have for the past 2 years we have represented in the one of the largest AI conferences in the world. We are with NeurIPS. We presented numbers of research, 9 research from Data Science Nigeria were presented at NeurIPS, and that is how we present papers in different conferences, research conferences. This is us in deep learning in Damba in Senegal, where we presented a research paper and also showcased our startup, which has equalized AI with a dedicated booth. We have been mentioned over 17,500 instances according to academia.edu. This is actually a testament to our good work in research, in adding to, in improving knowledge. So GSM here recognized and endorsed our startup, Equalize AI, for its transformative work, in hyperlocal data set development and AI talent nurturing in Nigeria. Not just even in Nigeria, even in Africa, because we are also looking at digitizing, languages, in Africa, like Swahili and other languages that are native to Africa. Okay, so this is the official Equalize AI at Deep Learning in Daba 2024 in Dakar, Senegal. Now, coordination and management of the Nigerian AI College. This is one of our initiatives to contributing to the AI ecosystem. I told you the other time that we have 5 pillars, and one of it is ecosystem development, and that's what we do here. Coordinating and managing the Nigerian AI Collective. You're going to know more about it in few days to come. So why should you be a DSNer? Why should you be a DSNer? And then please, if you know why, I can just drop it in the chat. Just drop it in the chat, or why you are a DSNer, so that you can just take this feedback and use it to also improve our model. So please, in the chat, drop why you are a DSNer. I want to see it in the chat, and I can just refill it out so that I can encourage others. Okay, good. So why be a DSNer? I'm checking the chat. Good. Number one, access to mentorship. I mentioned that that the DSN ladies in AI are currently running a mentorship initiative, which you can be part of. We also have a broader mentorship sections and initiative opportunity from world-class mentors. Yes, you can rest assured that you have world-class mentors who will be handling this. You also have access to premium training. As a DSNer, you have access to premium training, content, and facilities like what we are currently having. This I'm very sure that you can testify with me that all the trainings are from the last 3 weeks now has been top notch. I'm very sure you can attest to that. So you have access to premium training content and facility, also even research support and collaboration. Okay, as a DSNer, you have access to a certificate of participation. This is very important, and that is why you need to make sure that you fill the attendance after the session. The attendance is very, very important because your attendance in meetings, in trainings like this qualifies you to uh, to earn the certificate of participation after a year. Yes, at the end of the year. Good. So to become a DSN now, you can just scan this barcode. My colleagues on the call will also be dropping the links to join the DSN community. Yes, this link will also help you to generate a membership ID. Okay, so we have local communities around that you want to join, so scan this barcode to know the nearest community to you, local community to you that you can join. Okay, good. So this is our annual learning calendar for 2025. We're in March, and that's why we are running the research masterclass. Yes, the research masterclass. So please follow this learning calendar. And if you have any question, you can always ask. My colleagues will also be dropping the links, the link to the DSN 2025 annual calendar in the chat. And then you can also scan this barcode to have access to this. So the DSN Knowledge Box 4.0, this is a repo of knowledge of thousands of content that you can access, and then you don't really, they are well structured, to guide you to your career, and a lot of resources that you can actually benefit from. So please, if you are stuck, you want to learn, you need content to learn with, you need books, you need practicals, just want to work, you need data sets, just visit the DSN Knowledge Box. We have created all of this for you. Yes, all of this for you, and it's going to guide you, to learn and to achieve your career goal for 2025 and beyond. Okay, so scan this barcode. My colleagues should also be dropping the links to to access the DSN Knowledge Box. So, if you want to know more about DSN, just access our DSN annual report. This is the barcode that you can scan to access it, and you can also use the link on the screen. But now, this last section is let me first take you through this. That's what you need to know about this research masterclass. I'm very sure that you every Monday, all the registered participants receive self-paced learning resource. Yes, self-paced learning resource that they're expected to study between Monday and Thursday. And on Friday, like this, we have a live section. So if you have not registered, please register. Don't just join this session. Register so that you can also be part of the self-paced learning that receives resources every Monday, and they get ready for the class, the live session on Friday. Now, let's move to the speaking session. So please, if you're excited with all what you have been hearing, all what you have heard, please, with your favorite emoji, I want you to express that with your favorite emoji in the chat box. I want you to, we are DSN has actually done a lot. So please, with your favorite emoji, just show, okay, it's coming in Imenian. Thank you very much. It just, yeah, that's the fire. So please, I want to keep coming in before I introduce our facilitator for today's session. Okay, Ben Onoja. Good. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Yes, Emmanuel attended the DSN AI Bootcamp 2024. Yes, Esther, thank you, Babalma, David. Okay, thank you very, very much. Good. Now, let me introduce our speaker, our facilitators for this awesome session. So now we have on the call today Amina Moridia Rufai, who is a machine learning engineer, with the literature service team at the European Molecular Biology Laboratory, European Bioinformatics Institute in Cambridge, UK. Yes. So, biosciences, I'm sure you're excited. Okay. Yeah, so she holds a master's degree in machine intelligence from the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, where she was among 40 students selected from over 7,000 applicants across Africa for the AMM High program, fully funded by Facebook, now Meta, and Google. I'm now also earned a degree in biomedical engineering from the University of Lagos, Nigeria. Our research experience includes a previous role at Data Science Nigeria DSN, research internship at the Hyderabad Research Institute, and at the EFOC. Oh, I need to pronounce this very well. This is not English. Okay, Switzerland. Amina research interest lies at intersection of our 2 degrees in machine intelligence and biomedical engineering, focusing on AI application in health, particularly in low resource setting. She is passionate about leveraging AI to address challenges in diagnostic and therapeutics. Beyond her professional endeavors, she actively shares her insights on platforms like Media and participates in competitive hackathons. She's also enthusiastic about fitness and exercise. Please, with your favorite emoji, I want you to join me to welcome Hamina Moidia as she delivers a presentation on effective communication, presenting your results, discussion, and conclusion. Thank you very much. Over to you, Amina.
Thank you, Teju. Can you hear me well? Teju, can you confirm if you can hear me well? Oh, good. Thank you, Christiana. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you confirm if you can see my screen? Great, thank you. Thank you, Teju, for the awesome introduction. I think you did a great job with pronunciation, just a few corrections. It's French, so it's not English, so it's French. That's why it's a bit complicated to pronounce. Okay. So today's session, as Stacia has rightly introduced, we'll be talking about how to um present our results and how to craft effective discussion and conclusion. So I'd like to start with a quote, one of my favorite quotes. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The work in life is to develop it, and the purpose is to give it away. So if we relate that to research, as researchers, we tend to spend a lot of time to develop solutions, but there's always this huge barrier between developing that solution and actually sharing it. But we miss out a point. Research is not for you. It's for you to share to the world. So the true value of research is only complete when you've passed through that stage of developing it. You've you had an idea and you've developed the idea, but it can only be complete when you've actually shared it to the world. Because in the end, why do we research if you won't share it? But then there's a big question mark. How? How do you effectively share what you've done in a way that it makes impact, in a way that it really reflects the impact of what you've done, in a way that appreciated? That's the purpose of this session. So this is an overview of what we'll go through today. Some of them I'll break down as we go through the slides, but a general overview. We'll look at how the key steps of presenting research, the key things you need to keep in mind when you want to prepare to present your research. The 4 general themes of research, because every research has a theme, and your research will fall in one of these. Key things to consider when you want to present results and how to go about that. So crafting good discussion and conclusion, like wrapping up your research. So yeah, so one major thing people forget when you're presenting research, again, research is not for you, it's for someone out there, the audience. So who is the audience? Like, you need to do your homework. Are you presenting to academia? Are you presenting to students? Are you presenting to business partners? Like, know your audience. You need to know your audience, because it's really like a driver to how you craft your results and how you present it to them. Different audiences demand different presentations. So really know your audience. Then, so your audience is the who, and then there's the why. Why did you do the research? Why did you, there must have been a problem that came to your mind that prompted you, okay, I need to do this research. Why did you do the research? That's the why. The why is your message of the research, as we'll see along the rest of the presentation. And then the how. and how is like how can you take the who and the why and then connect these two and interpret what you've done with your research. So yeah, again, different audience demand different presentation context. So if you are presenting to academia, you would want to focus on emphasizing technical details. You would want to focus on like talking about the core of your research, maybe a little bit of math if your audience knows math. Um, but in the industry, like, what if they don't know about what LLM or large language model is, for example? You would not want to be focusing too much on technical details. Instead, you want to speak in a business language. You need to tell them the real impact of your research, like how does that solve a business problem? What's the efficiency of the research that you've done in real life? What's the scalability? How does it scale to real life? So we'll see more of that down to line. And then there's the similarity. So every audience is also similar in a way. So as I said before, oftentimes as researchers, we try to work on a problem, but we forget that the research that we're doing is not for us, it's for the audience that we're presenting to, or the audience that we're going to share that result to. And so because you sit in your head all the time when you're doing research, you forget that your audience is not in your brain and you're not in your audience brain, meaning we often assume that the audience would know what we are thinking about. And we sometimes assume that we know what is in our audience head. Do not assume that your audience knows your research. You need to learn how to communicate, like find a good balance between explaining things and overloading your audience. What do I mean by that? So in the academia scenario, sometimes you find that your audience is a mix of people who know a little bit of math and those who do not know math at all. So you need to find a good balance between talking math all the time and actually talking about other technical details. You need to find a good balance between explaining concepts using acronyms, or because some audience would not know what those acronyms mean. So you need to find a good balance between explaining things and sharing too much details. So keep that in mind. Your audience is not in your brain and you're not in your audience brain. You need to communicate with clarity, as we'll see ways to do that. Like use clear terms, not use ambiguous words or buzzwords. Not everyone knows what those buzzwords are. Avoid jargons and acronyms that the audience may not be familiar with. So that's why it's very important that the number one step is to know your audience, know who you are presenting to, because that really directs how you craft your presentation, what kind of language you use, what kind of method you use to present those research results to them. So avoid the jargons that the audience would not know, because then you will not be passing the message that you would want to pass. And then visualization, like there is so much power in visualization. There is so much power because it speaks volume, it speaks a lot of volume, but a lot of people tend to use it wrong. Like you could be using a visualization, but not passing a message. So it's one of the things we'll also see today. And finally, if you're trying to explain a process, you can start with a general overview. You start by saying, this is how I did my research methodology. This is how it goes about, before explaining the details. And this would mostly apply actually if you're speaking to an academic audience. So you start by explaining a general overview of your research, and then you go into more technical details. Because again, they could be technical, but they could not be technical to the depth of where your research is. Like if I give you an example, like you could be presenting to a computer science audience, but your research was in something like psychology or medicine. That audience is technical, but they are not technical in the medical aspect. And they won't know a lot of acronyms, they won't know a lot of terms, they won't know some medical processes and all that. So in that sense, you want to maybe you did something around lung dialysis or something around that line. So you want to maybe explain what that is first, like give them an overview, and then connect that to the computer science aspect you did in your research. So the reverse is the case also. Like sometimes you could be presenting to a medical audience, and those guys know a lot of medical terms, but they do not know a lot of computer science. So they might not even know, they might know the buzzword LLM, but they have absolutely no idea how it works. So when you're presenting to that kind of audience, you want to reverse what you did with the computer science. Like you start by explaining what they know. So you go from the known to the unknown. You start by explaining what they know, like give an overview, and then you like break it down to what you actually did. And only focus on the important details, like no need to give them so much that you overload them. That's why it's good to find a good balance between explaining things to them and overloading the audience. Okay, so, and then the context. So I started by saying that when you start your research, it often starts with a question, like you have a question, or you're trying to challenge something, a theory or something. So if you are presenting to an audience, if it's an audience that do not know so much about theoretical things or hypotheses, you need to connect that's your question to a story, a well-known story that they can resonate with or they can reflect with. So say you did something around traffic analysis or traffic, like something that solves traffic problem in Lagos, and you did so with some computer vision algorithm, and you're presenting it to maybe the Lagos state government. Again, like if you study the demographics of that audience, they would not know so much about computer vision. They will not know so much about the theory or the question you're trying to ask with your research. So you would then need to go from the known to the unknown. Like, how can you connect that research question you had to what is well known by that audience? So you start by saying, like, for example, in Lagos, traffic congestion causes, like, this is something that everyone knows. So already you are connecting with your audience by starting with that context and starting with that story. And this is the message of your research. Like, that is the context, that theme, and you stick with it for the rest of your like research presentation. So you set a context at the back of the mind of your audience. And with that, like it makes them anticipate what you want to say. It makes them anticipate your result because it's something they can resonate with. And it's something that they like deeply connect with. So always like set a context around. It can be a question. You can just start by saying a question like, "Hey, this," or a known fact like what I presented here, or a statistics, or even a personal story. Like you could go about by saying, healthcare, like maybe talk about how the healthcare system is poor in Nigeria right now, and then how you maybe developed something that helps patients connect directly to doctors, those kind of like things that people can easily resonate with. But do not forget that this boils down to your audience. That's why that was the number one thing that I mentioned that you need to be aware of. Know the demographics of your audience, then connect a story with that during your presentation. Okay, so the four themes of research, generally there are four themes. Whatever research you want to do, it always boils down to either of those four things. So it's either you are like having new results confirming prior knowledge. What do I mean by that? So maybe there's this prior methodology like BERT, for example, or the current GPT-4 that have been working in past languages like English, Japanese, German, but they've not been tested in African languages yet, like Yoruba or Igbo. And then you did a research on that proves that works. You are like providing results with prior knowledge. So people already know that these models have exceptional ability. So you connect that to the prior knowledge of that to your new results. So that's one thing of research. And then there is also like progressive results. There's progressive result in the sense that it's been seen to work before, or it's been seen to not work before, but then you came up with new findings that could direct research to another area. For example, like it's well known that doing text-to-speech models on African language is a very difficult thing because of the African accent. But maybe your research brought about some new findings that, oh, what if we tweak something like this in the architecture? And then it helps with the accental or the tonal things we have in African language. So that's like progressive results. And then there is the part where you just show that this wasn't working before. It's still struggling and it absolutely will not work, but you're doing some kind of analysis. So you're comparing previous approaches, current approach, the current state of the art, and you're still like analyzing the trends over the years. Those kind of studies will fall under review. It will fall under review, or again, reviewing like previous literature or current state of the art. Or your research could be just showing that something wasn't working before, but now it's working. So showing a change in trend, like using models like CNN on previous African data sets weren't working, but with the advent of transformers, they're now working, that kind of team. So why am I talking about the teams of research? The type of research you do also depends, also like reflects on what kind of results you present. Because if you're doing something like analysis, what you need there is maybe an analysis of two methods or two approaches. You're not doing core modeling or something like that. So the theme of your research also demands what type of presentation you do. It also demands how you show your results. Sometimes it could not be results, it could just be analysis again, like comparison of one or two methods. So keep this in mind when you're also working on your research. Okay, so we've talked about knowing your audience, we've talked about the themes of your research and how to like figure out where yours fall into. Also, but now progressively we're moving forward. So how do you present the research results? There are multiple ways. People use figures, graphs, tables, workflow, and each of these, again, this is why I spoke about the themes of your research. Each of these have different roles they play, and where they play we'll see. But they have different roles they play. Your audience determines that. The theme of your research determines that. The purpose you're trying to use it for also determines that. So, like if your research is maybe comparison, as I explained before, you would be using something else. So instead of doing flashy, instead of using maybe tables, you want to do graphs. If you are doing like computer vision kind of image processing tasks, you'll be using figures or images that shows a change, or maybe like a diagnosis of a cancer, a lung cancer or something. You show different images, so or statistical analysis. So it really depends on your audience and your team. So connect the dots as we're moving forward. So as I mentioned before, a purpose. What is the purpose you're trying to show when you are presenting that result? What purpose are you trying to show? Are you comparing something? Are you establishing a relationship, or are you explaining a process or method? Other key things you need to remember is that, say for example, you are using a table. Is that table good for the type of relationship you're trying to show? We'll see some examples in the next slide, but is it readable? Is that table readable? Is it clear enough that if someone sees at first glance, they already know it, like it passed a message? Is it informative enough? If someone looks at your figure or your image, does it tell them something about the research that you're trying to talk about? Is it effective? Is it the right tool? Like if you're doing some kind of numerical comparison and you're using a table and the table is all cluttered, whereas it would have been better if you use something like a chart, because the chart would clearly show the relationship between maybe something changing over time. So are you using the most effective tool to show your results? Is it tidy? Oftentimes people get caught up with trying to make beautiful pictures or beautiful figures, but they end up with something that just looks, yeah, it looks pretty to the eyes, but it really doesn't say anything about the result you're trying to communicate. We'll see some examples in the next slide. So what are some good practices? Some good practices are, for graphs, you use trends. So if you are trying to maybe show that something is, remember when I said that sometimes you're trying to show that a method wasn't working before, and then over time, like over time, maybe that research has changed, maybe new methods have come about, and you're now trying to show that that method might be working for the particular domain you're trying to use it for. So you want to use graphs or charts for those kind of comparison, like you show maybe a model's accuracy in the past and the model's accuracy now, or you're trying to show maybe training over time, like a particular epoch, and then you use graphs because it shows maybe the model's loss score for the first epoch, and then the last score for the last epoch. Also, you should be very, as I said, you really want to be clear when you're presenting results. You do not want, you want something that sends a message. Because remember, visualizations are very powerful, but they're only as powerful as you put them or as you use them. They could be just a nuisance if you do not use them very well. So you should ensure that they are very clear, they are readable, use readable fonts, they're readable. You have properly labeled axes. So each axis should be showing what relationship you are trying to compare with, the X and the Y axis. If you are doing more than two or more relationship comparison, you should have legends that show what each thing is doing without being too cluttered. You should aim for simplicity again, because as I said, some people try to maybe make complex visualization because they want to impress their audience. But you really, as long as that's why you should really should think about the purpose. What is the purpose? What is the message you're trying to pass? For what audience? What audience are you trying to pass that message to? So if you put those two Lego blocks in place, then you would know what tool they are supposed to use. A complex visualization that doesn't pass a message is useless. You should aim for simplicity, really, like keep it very simple but really powerful. Simple but using the right things, like the right axes, the right fonts, the right chart for the right purposes. Um, and then you'll be communicating the message you're meant to be communicating. And also, you should learn to make good decisions between chart versus table. Again, this depends on your audience. Some audiences would prefer a table, especially the academia. They want to see it in tabular form. But if you're speaking to a business person, for example, they do not want those many numbers because it can really get difficult to pick out the message from there. So you want to maybe impress them with charts, really nice interactive dashboard, but you want to also keep it not too complex, but really simple enough to pass the message that they are trying to pass. And if you are using figures or tables, you want to make sure that you have very descriptive and concise title. Like a title should be enough to tell your audience that this is the relationship you're trying to show, or this is the result you're trying to present, and so relationship. And the caption below it also should say something about what you are trying to say. So it should be a standalone, it should be self-explanatory in the sense that even though you are going to do some explaining at some point, looking at it alone at first glance already tells your audience this is what is this message is this is the message you're trying to pass and not the other way around. So you should not keep it too short that someone would need an explanation for it or will not be able to get the message from that visualization. So the mistakes, I just mentioned some of them. You should not just overcomplicate visuals unnecessarily for beautification purpose or for aesthetic purpose because you want to make it pretty. You should keep it very simple, and you should not avoid making it. Another mistake people make, I mentioned not putting enough context. So another mistake people make is the overloading part where they want to say everything in the chat. So you should keep it really, it's simplicity. There is just a balance of explaining and overloading. So if there's a way you phrase a sentence or phrase your titles or your caption that it passes the message, but it's not too complex. Even a layman just looking at it knows, okay, this is the message that you're trying to pass. Again, very key. I keep mentioning this. It should, whatever tools and formats you use, it should be passing a message, otherwise it's pointless. Your visualization should be connecting to your story. If it's a table, it should be connecting to the story you're trying. Your research itself is a story. You're trying to tell a story. So you started by like finding a question and then you develop a solution and you want to tell a story of how you developed that solution. So everything you use to present that solution should be telling that story. Otherwise, it's pointless. So keep this in mind. Okay, let's see some examples of some poor practices. So if we take a look at this, I'd like someone to tell me in the chat, what do you think about this image? Is it readable? Like the key factors we mentioned. What is the purpose of this image? Can you tell from just the first glance? Is it readable? Is it clear? Is it simple? So if you can, okay, it's not readable. Okay, man. If we can have good, okay. It's not clear exactly. So it doesn't say anything. It's not complex per se, but it does not complex per se, but it's really not clear. It doesn't say anything about what it's doing. It's just showing some circles. We cannot tell any relationship from here. What are the colors for? What are they trying to, what message is this person trying to pass? Let's see another example. This one is better, but still has a few things. We can see there's a little relationship, but then can someone point out to me what problem could be wrong here? Let's see in the chat. Exactly, that's good. Yeah. Wrong choice of chat. Very good. Yes. Wrong choice of chat. Label as this is not very visible. So it's like I can see the title axis, but I do not know what is beneath it. Like what are the variables beneath? It's just way too small. So it's again, it's slightly passing a message, but the message is not clear. So you want to be avoiding these mistakes. And now let's see this one. This is a little like it's better. It's simple. The label houses are clear. The label houses are clear. The legends are also like if you look at it, you can see that there's a relationship between something there. We can see maybe you can easily tell that there's some analysis being done here that says that Norway has the highest statistics of something and Lithuania has the lowest value of something. So these are the kind of mistakes you want to avoid. Like you really think about these things. And really what differentiates this from the previous one is just a switch in how the presentation is being done. So the other one used something like an horizontal plane, but this is using a vertical, but then in a descending order. So keep this in mind. Like it's just these small things really play a role in how you communicate your research results. Let's see other examples. Okay, here's another one. This one is this is I've seen this before in a presentation. This is really it's nice, but I mean, it doesn't say it's nice to place something in a 3D kind of. It looks really cute, but then the legends are really not clear. It's like a mountain. The legends are not clear, and it really doesn't pass the message. Like it just, if I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, what are you trying to say? It doesn't really pass the message. What could have been a better way for someone to do this? Very simple. They could have done something like this, like make it very simple. So the key things we mentioned, make sure your title as is, it can be beneath or below, on top or below. And then the description, the caption, like very simple, very simple. And also something else someone mentioned, I just learned something recently. I wasn't aware of this before, so I'll share with you. So a professor mentioned that when you're thinking about the colors to use for your figures, you should think about people who might be colorblind. So you don't want to use colors that are too sharp to the eyes. You want to keep them at a reasonable construct level. So not use too like for example, in this figure, you don't want to be using something like blue, yellow, like to keep them very tune, like very visual appealing to the eyes. But if you want to show some relationship with colors, keep in mind that there could be some people who will not be able to see the colors very well. So that's just by the side. Okay, here's an example of a table. So again, in the chart, what do you think about this table? Is it clear? Is it expressive enough? Is it effective? Let's see. What do you think about this table? Clumsy. Yes, it's clumsy. It's not clear. It's it's too mathematical. Yes, it's too mathematical. So imagine presenting this to business partners. Like they'll be like, what's going on here? What are you trying to say? So it's really very cluttered. Like if you look at the values, and then like it could have just been easy to do a separation of and maybe this would have even been better as a graphics than a table. The values are too cluttered. Maybe the person is trying to show like there's some, they call this confidence interval, trying to show some error deviation of the scores. But this could have been better presented. Like this is not the right way to present it. So this is why I mentioned that you need to think about You need to think about like what tools should you use and in what formats. Like when you have your results, sit down and think, is this the right tool? Should I be using a table or a chart? If you have so many values and you want to do something like this, what is the best way for me to present it? What is the best way for me to present it for the right audience? What is the purpose of that presentation? Is it clear? Is it effective? Is it communicating the message that I want to communicate? Is it tidy? And does it like, is it informative enough that someone who looks at it at first glance is able to tell this is the message I am trying to communicate? So those are the things you need to keep in mind. Let's see some best practices. So this one, well, I'd leave this up to you again. If you can point out to me what could be wrong in this table. I don't have a gift to give, unfortunately, but maybe we can all um throw a clapping emoji for that person. What is wrong in this table? Okay, very close. No title yet, but I eliminated the title on purpose. Inconsistency, yes. Anita, yes, that is it. Okay, can we all maybe throw a clapping emoji for Anita? That's very nice. Yeah, it's inconsistent. The values are not like if you look at it, inconsistent decimal values. So yes, the person is trying to show accuracy F1. It's not clear what the unit of accuracy is. Is it percent? What kind of unit is it? What is the meaning of NN here or SVM? A non-technical audience would not understand what that means. A technical audience might, but not all of them, which is why I said never assume you're not in your audience brain and your audience is not your brain. You know what it means, but does your audience know? So, and then the decimal values are inconsistent. The presentation of values also, so sometimes there's a K and sometimes it's clearly written out. So it's the table itself is simple, it's clear, it's visually appealing, but there is inconsistency. So this is another mistake people tend to make. What is a better way? This is a better way. So like consistent, if you're doing 2 decimals, stick to 2 decimal. If you're doing 3 decimals, stick to 3 decimal. Clearly state what the units you're trying to measure is in clearly like write out acronyms and something else people do. So you should also check if for example, you are presenting to a conference, you should also check what are the formats of that conference. Like some conferences will tell you to use, not all of them stated by the way, some conferences will tell you to use 2 decimal places of 3 decimal places, like not to round it off because round off in some computer science conferences are seen as errors. Like it could be you could be over simplifying your result or something. I would speak about that later too, but so keep that in mind. But if presenting to maybe a very less technical team, you want to keep it as simple as this, but also make sure that things are clear. And something nice that other people do also that I like is they try to like draw attention. So remember again that all of this, there's a purpose behind it. You're trying to send a message. So if you want to draw attention to maybe the fact that your model was performing better, you might want to bold it. So people try to bold values sometimes because it immediately draws attention. It draws attention. They either bold or they do underlining. So that's another good practice that people do when presenting things in table. They do some kind of bolding of the text to immediately draw attention so that when they are explaining, it's immediately clear to the audience that this is what they're trying to say. So okay. Okay, next up, that's about it for presenting results. Next up is about how do you make sense of your discussion and conclusion. So you've spoken about your results, you've presented your result. How do you wrap it up? Because the conclusion and the discussion is so what? Like, why is your research important? So you did something, you shared what you did, but why is it important again? This is where you need to tell that like it's a wrap up, it's like the final piece of your Lego block. You did something, you've explained what you did, but why does it matter? It's like interpretation of your results, and you need this is a very fundamental skill. Like you need to learn how to interpret your result. And again, it connects back to your audience. Interpret it in a way that your audience understands. Explain your results in your discussion and conclusion. What you tend to do is you give a summary, like a brief overview of your context, your story, and then you connect it to your results. So you briefly explain your results and what you did, because in your results section, you were probably just showing figures and tables with brief explanation. So you wrap it up in your discussion and conclusion. And you also compare that, you link that to literature, because linking to literature shows that you did, like, your research didn't just come out of the blue. There's some theory behind it, there's some logic behind it. So you link your results to literature. For example, you could have done something on maybe a language model on your local language, and you show that maybe using a particular model proved to be better than some. So you do some findings and connect that to maybe a previous study where someone also applied the same method or a similar method. It doesn't have to be the same because it could be novel. A similar method, you connect that to your findings in your research, like someone did this before in the past and it's worked. Even though this is not the same as mine, there's a term people use, I forget. It's akin to it. There's a particular term people use, but I forgot that. So you connect your research, you connect your results in a way that it links back to the literature, because your research goes back to literature as well. So you should link it to existing literature. You should also avoid using passive words. So do not say that I have shown that this method works, or we have shown that this method works. You should use an active voice. Our result shows, or my result shows, that this method is effective and this method works. You should also explain the implication or application of your study. So remember I was talking about, if you're presenting to business partners, or you're presenting to industry partners or clients, you want to be talking about real world application of your study. You developed a research problem. You talk about where it can apply. You can say, okay, I did something. You can use it in this field. You can use it in this scenario. Because really, as you're doing the research, it's something you should be thinking about as well. Like, in what case can this be used? Real life um scenario, in what situation can my research be used? So you should be thinking about those things, because it's a wrap of your research. Also, it shows that you really did credible research. Your research connects to the real life. You didn't just do a research in isolation. It connects to the real world. So talk about the implication of your project. So implication means that your research is research. It might not always work. So it means that your research will have cases where it will fail. So you thinking about those edge cases again really shows the credibility of your research. So you should think about, maybe, for example, you did something on Yoruba. In your discussion and conclusion, you saying that, oh, this might not work in Hausa, shows that you know what you're talking about, because these are two different languages that might not have the same language structure. I'm just saying there are researches that actually work on these two languages. But then an example use case, you could maybe say that your argument could be maybe that these two languages are of this different language structure, or they do not have the same demographics, those kind of things. An example. So you should talk about the application and implication of your study, and the impact in the real life. So tie it to your story. So the context you're trying to send, remembering that your entire research is a story. So, and everything you're trying to do during presenting your research itself is telling your story. Presenting your results is telling a story. Your discussion is wrapping up that story. So you should tie it to your story, because you're concluding, like you're tying the final piece of your Lego block. Okay, so yeah, so the mistakes you want to avoid, you should not be just saying that your results, just state your results. Oh, I got 90% accuracy, without explaining the implication of the application of that, just like what we said. So the opposite of the good practice. Do not just state your results. What are the implications of it, and what are the applications of it? You should state that. And you should not ignore the limitations of your study. So just as I mentioned, acknowledge that your research will not work in every case. So if you read some research paper, you see that where people talk about bias, this might work for the Ethiopian demographics, but it won't work for Africa because we have different genetic makeup, those kind of things. And the final one I would explain in a bit is overgeneralizing or oversimplifying your result. What does that mean? Overgeneralizing is you've done something in Africa and then you go about and say, oh, this will work for the entire world. No, it's like you are overgeneralizing that your research is the absolute truth. It's the all and like alpha and omega that would work for everyone. Do not overgeneralize your result. This is why you need to discuss the limitations that your study might have. It's good practice to actually think about it, like while you're concluding your research, think about in what cases you could be wrong again, but then you thinking about it, as I mentioned, shows the credibility of it. Someone could come up in the future and like be like, this actually works, but you thinking about it shows the credibility of your research that you've suggested. So normally when you do this, you suggest. You do not conclusively say, oh, it will not work. You say, we suggest that this could fail in certain scenarios. So that's why you use active voices. This could fail in certain cases, or it could work in certain cases. And then oversimplifying, let's show the examples of it. So this is one example that I just mentioned, like an example where you are overgeneralizing your results. You're just saying that it's the best approach because it have achieved 90% accuracy. That's oversimplifying. You've ignored the possibility of it failing in other cases. And then oversimplifying your results is where you've used you're ignoring the problem. So maybe you created something that could diagnose lung cancer, for example, and then you forget that the lungs and the kidney are two different organs, and then oversimplified in a way is connected to overgeneralization. But here you just go about and ignore that those are two different organs that have different risk factors that could link to cancer. But you're now saying that because it works in lungs, it will work in kidney. So you oversimplified your results, but you should actually be saying that it could, as I said, you should suggest. So how do you phrase it instead? You strike a balance. So you suggest or you say we suggest that this could possibly work in this scenario, or we suggest that it could fail in this scenario. Even if someone in the future comes up and say that it does work, you suggested it, you did not conclusively say it. So you're not saying the absolute truth or the absolute like bad of your research. You do not undermine your research. Of course, it's a research, your hard work. So you suggest and or you infer. So that really wraps up like your story. It shows like you've done so much work and you've thought about your story and how your story connects to the real world. You've also talked about like you've thought about where it could fail and where it could work. So this is really how you should like present your story and then wrap up your story. And finally, I'd like to end with a quote. So you should remember that your research is a story and you should learn to tell it very well. Otherwise, it doesn't have the impact that you wish it would. Thank you. Question.
Thank you very much, Amina. Please, with your favorite emoji, I want you to celebrate Amina for this well-delivered presentation. I'm very sure that a lot of us are now confident to writing, presenting our results, our good work, our hard work to the world. Amina shared with us that we need to consider our audience is very, very important. The audience are not in your brain, so you need to know that. Also, tell your story. You need to tell it. You need to let the world know what you have done. Please, with your favorite emoji, I want you to celebrate Hamina. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you very much. So, because of our time, I'm just going to accommodate one question. So, let me see if anyone has asked any question, or maybe there's not going to be a question because Amina was very explicit. She was just very concise and just giving us one after the other in a simple language that's easy to understand. Okay, okay, no question, no question, no question, no question, no. Okay, can you split your research work into two papers? One to show something works slash is achievable, and the second to show how a feature affects results and to what extent. Can you split your research work into two papers, one to show something works or is achievable, and the second to show how a future affects results and to what extent. Amina, can you just answer this question in 1 minute?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Teju. Yes, Ime, yes, actually, it's what most people do, actually. No one puts all their research work in one. Think about how ChatGPT came about. Like it started from a breakdown of GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3, 3.5, and then before the release of ChatGPT, like it was like years of research. So yes, people do not do all in all research. They actually tend to break it down. Sometimes you could even start from gathering, like, do a review, like the trend analysis, because it's on your own, it's a study, it's like a pre-study on the kind of research you want to do. So you could do a pre-study on that, and then you make a research paper on that. You gather data sets, you make a research paper on that. So it could be progressive, as I said. That's why progressive research is also one of the themes of research.
Thank you very much, Amina, for that answer. So we are just going to be moving now to the few announcements that we have for everyone on this call. So and the attendance has been dropped, so it's going to be live for the next 1 hour. So please do make sure that you you know fill their attendance form, within 1 hour before we close the form. Also, the mentorship feedback is very important for us to get feedback from you so that we can use it to improve our learnings. Okay, and our subsequent events. Okay, so that is all for this section. So I want you to please help me, join me to appreciate Amina once again for this well-delivered presentation. Thank you very much, Amina. I know that you'll be glad to join us for subsequent sections, like this. Thank you very much, Amina. And please do not forget to fill your attendance. Thank you very much, and then do enjoy the rest of your. So before you leave, don't forget the Telegram group. Amina is also on the Telegram group, and then she's ready to answer all your questions. We're also going to be there to respond to your questions. So if you're unable to ask any question here on this call, just drop your question on the Telegram group. Amina is on the group. We are also on the group to respond to this question. So please, with your favorite emoji as we close for this week's live research masterclass live section. Join me to celebrate Amina for a good job. Thank you, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, bye.